Mara returns to her childhood mountain town after her quiet, distant grandmother Agnes dies and leaves her an old cabin. Inside, Mara finds a brass key and a note telling her, "Every family has two histories, the one they tell, and the one they bury." Using the key, she discovers a hidden floor compartment containing a box filled with old letters. The letters reveal a shocking truth: her grandmother had been deeply in love with a man named Thomas Carter long before she married Mara's grandfather. Family pressure forced Agnes to choose a safer marriage, but she never stopped loving Thomas. The letters show their secret meetings, regrets, and love that lasted decades. Agnes also wrote and sent letters to Mara, explaining that life is complicated, choices aren't always free, and she didn't want Mara to be trapped by fear or expectations like she was. Mara realizes her grandmother wasn't perfect. She was human, torn, emotional, and brave in her own way. The hidden letters aren't a scandal, they are a message. A permission slip. Agnes wanted Mara to live honestly, make real choices, forgive herself, and stop running from her own life. For 60 years the truth stayed buried under the floor. Now Mara decides she won't bury her own story anymore. Let's carry on. Please hit the subscribe button and make my day, and let me know where are you watching from in comment. The small mountain town held too many shadows, too many memories packed into too little space. She had left at 19 with a single suitcase, promising herself she would never come back, and for 10 years she kept that promise. But life doesn't always honor promises. When her grandmother Agnes passed away, Mara received the call no one wants. And with it came a second surprise. Agnes had left her the old cabin at the edge of the woods, the one Mara hadn't stepped inside since she was a child. "Why me?" she muttered on the drive up the winding road. Her grandmother had been a quiet woman, sweet but private. They hadn't been close. Or so she thought. The cabin looked exactly as it had in her childhood memories: the chipped white paint, the sagging porch, the chimney leaning like it was tired of standing. The forest pressed tightly around it, as if guarding something. Inside, the air smelled like dust and lavender. Mara wandered through each room slowly, almost afraid to touch anything. The furniture was the same. The faded quilt. The worn armchair. The creaking floorboards that groaned like old bones. Everything felt frozen. Except one thing. A small brass key lay on the kitchen table, placed neatly atop an envelope with her name on it. Mara. For when you are ready. Her pulse quickened. Inside the envelope was a note in her grandmother's delicate handwriting. Every family has two histories. The one they tell, and the one they bury. You will find ours beneath the floor. Beneath the floor? For the rest of the day, Mara avoided thinking too hard about the message. She unpacked, cleaned dust from the shelves, opened windows. But her eyes kept drifting to the floorboards: wide, old pine boards, knotted and uneven. Finally, just before dusk, she took the brass key and walked to the spot she remembered as a child: the living room corner where her grandmother always kept a rug. Mara rolled the rug back. A narrow metal lock was embedded in the wood. Her hands trembled as she inserted the key. The lock clicked softly, and a square panel lifted like a door. Inside was a wooden box. A chill swept through her. The box was heavy, its surface carved with initials she didn't recognize. She carried it to the table, sat down slowly, and opened the lid. Letters. Dozens of them. Bundles tied with twine, edges yellowed, ink faded in some places but still legible. Some were addressed to Agnes Ellison. Others were addressed simply to "My dearest." Mara unfolded the first letter. Her breath caught. It wasn't from her grandfather. It was from a man named Thomas Carter, a name she had never heard in her life. The letter was dated 1962. Agnes. I saw you again today at the market. I don't know how to speak to you without trembling. If life were kinder, if the world were simpler, I'd ask you to leave with me tomorrow. Mara read it twice, heart hammering. Her grandmother had a secret lover? Impossible. Agnes had always been the model of loyalty. Her marriage to Arthur Ellison was the backbone of every family story. She opened another letter. Then another. The truth unfolded slowly, painfully. Agnes and Thomas were in love long before she met Arthur. But Thomas had been drafted. And while he was away, Agnes married Arthur under pressure from her family, a safer choice, a better future. But Thomas survived the war. He came back. And Agnes never stopped loving him. The letters revealed stolen meetings, quiet promises, unspoken regrets. Two lives running parallel, always near, never allowed to fully touch. But then came the final bundle of letters ones Agnes had written but never sent. In them, Mara found her own name. Mara reminds me of you, the courage in her eyes, the stubbornness. She deserves to know the truth someday. Mara covered her mouth, tears slipping down her cheeks. Why had her grandmother kept this hidden? Why leave it to her? By the time she reached the last letter, night had settled outside, pressing its weight against the windows. She held the final paper delicately, afraid it might crumble. Mara. If you are reading this, then you have lived enough life to understand that love is not always simple and choices are not always free. I do not regret your mother, your family, or the life I lived, but part of me never stopped walking the path I could not choose. I want you to know this not so you judge me, but so you forgive yourself when life becomes complicated. We all carry hidden stories. This one is mine. And now it is yours to set free. Mara pressed the letter to her chest. For so long she had run from Alder Creek because she felt suffocated by expectation, by the pressure to be perfect, certain, steady. She had lived her adult life in clean lines and safe decisions, never allowing herself to bend or break or want too deeply. But now she understood. Her grandmother had been human. Flawed. Tender. Torn between duty and desire. And Mara had inherited more from Agnes than she realized, including the fear of choosing wrong. She sat in the quiet cabin for a long time, surrounded by the letters, the truth, the pieces of a woman she thought she knew. Then she did something she hadn't done in years. She breathed. Not the short, careful breaths she'd grown used to, but a deep breath that expanded her ribs and loosened something tight inside her. Morning brought soft light through the window and a sense of clarity she hadn't expected. Mara packed the letters gently back into the box. But she didn't close the lid. Some stories were meant to be hidden. But this one, she decided, was meant to be understood and then shared. Not out loud. Not publicly. But with herself. With Martea. With whatever life she chose next. Her grandmother's secret wasn't a burden. It was permission. Permission to live honestly. Bravely. Messily. Fully. The letters had stayed buried under the floor for 60 years. Mara wouldn't bury her own story.